To solve this question. So in this question it's been asked that from the equation, which equation? The equation is given over here, which is 3 copper reacts with 8 HNO3 in order to give you 3 copper nitrate plus 4 water molecules and 2 nitric acid. Okay, 2 nitric oxide, sorry, 2 nitric oxide. Okay, so we have to calculate two parts, first and second. The first part, we have to calculate the mass of copper needed to react with 63 gram of nitric acid, and second case we have to calculate the volume of nitric oxide collected at the same time. Okay, so whenever this type of question come, what do we do? First we write down the balanced chemical equation, but as the balanced chemical equation already given, what are we gonna to proceed with? We're gonna proceed with the molecular weight, calculation of molecular weight. Okay, so first of all, let's write down the balanced chemical equation once again. So balanced chemical equation, so chemical equation. Okay, so what is the chemical equation given? So it's given that when 3 copper reacts with 8 HNO3, it gives us 3 CuNO3 twice plus 4 molecules of water plus 2 NO, nitric oxide. Okay, that's the chemical equation given. Okay, now we have to calculate the molecular mass. Okay, so copper's molecular mass is gonna be 3 into 64, which will be nothing but equal to 192 gram. Correct, 192 gram. Okay, HNO3 is gonna be 8 into hydrogen is 1, nitrogen is 14, and 3 times the oxygen, which will be 3 into 16. When you calculate this part, it becomes 8 into 63, which is nothing but equal to 504 gram. Okay, 504 gram. Okay, at the same point of time, the nitric oxide will be equal to 2 into nitrogen is 14, oxygen is 16, together it's nothing but 30. So 2 into 30 would be equal to 60 gram. Okay, now what was the first part? And let's read again. So it was the mass of copper needed. So we have to calculate the mass of copper needed to react with the 63 gram of nitric oxide. Okay, 63 gram of nitric oxide. So instead of 504, it's given the 63 gram of nitric oxide. So again, it's very simple. What are we gonna do? We're gonna use the unitary method, where we can say that copper and nitric acid. Okay, so 192 gram of copper is required to react with 504 gram of HNO3. Okay, 192 gram of copper is required to react with 50 gram of HNO3. Then if only 63 gram of HNO3 is given, then how many gram of copper would be required? So let's solve the answer for the x. Okay, so let's calculate the value of x. So value of x would be equal to, x is equals to x over here, 192 into 63 divided by 504. 192 into 63 would be equal divided by 504. When you solve, you get the answer is equal to 24 gram of copper. Hence 24 gram of copper is required in order to react with 63 grams of nitric acid. Now let's solve for the second part. So in the second part, it was asked that the calculate the volume of nitric oxide, which is nothing but the NO. Okay, calculate the volume of nitric oxide collected at the same time. Same time means not at the 504 gram, but at the 63 grams of nitric acid. So definitely we're gonna use the unitary method over here, which is gonna be nitric acid and nitric oxide. Okay, nitric acid and nitric oxide. So basically we can say that 504 gram of nitric acid requires, okay, 504 gram of nitric acid produces 60 gram of nitric oxide. Then if we are using, as we are using a 63 gram of nitric acid, then 63 gram of nitric acid would produce x gram of nitric oxide. So value of x would be equal to 63 into 60 divided by 504. So when you solve this fraction, you get the answer is equal to 7.5 gram. You get the answer is equal to 7.5 gram of nitric oxide. Okay, but it is not asked the mass, but it is asked the volume of nitric oxide. So as we have mass over here, what we're gonna do, we're gonna relate the mass with the volume by using the formula of number of moles, which we know very well. Mass upon molecular mass is equals to volume at STP divided by 22.4. Okay, mass, is it mass given? Yes, we just calculated 7.4 gram, 7.5 gram of mass. Do we know the molecular mass? Yes, nitrogen is 14, oxygen is 16. When you add both, it becomes 30. So molecular mass is 30. Is volume? No sir, that's what we have to calculate. Volume at STP, standard temperature and pressure. Okay, divided by 22.4. Okay, so when you calculate volume at STP, it becomes equals to 7.5 into 22.4 divided by 30. Okay, when you solve this fraction, answer becomes equal to 5.6 liter of nitric oxide. Okay, so let's go through this question once again. So this question was having the one balanced chemical equation which was already given in it, and they were asking us to calculate the mass of copper needed when only 63 gram of nitric acid is given, and also we need to calculate the volume of nitric oxide produced when definitely a 63 gram of nitric oxide is reacted. So in first part we wrote down the balanced chemical equation, we just copied from the top, and we calculate the molecular masses of copper, nitric acid and nitric oxide. Okay, for the first part, in the solving the first part, we use the unitary method for the copper and nitric acid. Okay, and we say that if 192 gram of copper needs 504 gram of nitric acid, then x gram of copper will be requiring 63 gram of nitric acid, and we solve for the copper and we got the answer for it is a 24 gram of copper. In the second part, for the calculating the volume of nitric oxide, what do? We use the same unitary method, but for this time we used it for the nitric acid and the nitric oxide. And we say that if 504 gram of nitric acid is producing 60 gram of nitric oxide, then 63 gram of nitric acid will produce x gram of nitric oxide. And we solve for the x, and we got the answer is equal to 7.5 gram of nitric oxide. But as they were requiring the answer in the volume, we converted mass into volume by comparing the formulas of the number of mole, which was the mass upon molecular mass divided by is equal to volume at STP divided by 22.4. We substituted all the values in it, and we got the answer is equal to 5.6 liters of nitric oxide. I hope you understood this question, but still if you have any doubt in your brain, feel free to comment your doubt in the comment section, and we'll make sure to make a separate video about your doubt. Till then, keep on studying.